and action.
Thanks. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. We got a really good deal on a bike because everything's broken, and hopefully we'll fix that today. So, problem number one is that this throttle is really bad. It's supposed to go forward, and it doesn't do that. And then problem number two is that it smokes out of the crankcase right here, which is no bueno if you want it to run well. It runs, don't get me wrong. I didn't buy something that was completely broken, just almost completely broken. So yeah, we're gonna put in new rings. Don't fill these with oil when on a kickstand, or else this is going to happen. You'll blow out your rings and get exhaust through your entire crankcase instead of out of the exhaust pipe. So let's get started. All right, so these are the things we're going to replace. These are the piston rings for the head. We'll show you how to do those when we get there. And then we needed a gasket kit, a new exhaust, because as you can see, it doesn't have one. So it has one now, and then put a new air filter on it, and then we have a bolt kit just in case there's anything that we need to replace. And I bought all this stuff from my friend at Avid Cycles in Victorville, and I'm not saying that because he's sponsoring me. He was my friend, and then he started Avid Cycles, but we'll give him the plug for this anyway. He's a really good guy. So yeah, first things first, we've got to make space for us to work on this. We're going to take the plastic off, drain the gas tank and take the gas tank off, and then we'll be able to get moving. The first step of taking this apart, we take this cover off and then align this with top dead center. There's a little T on here and a mark in the case. So you just want to line that line up with that line. There's only 3 bolts holding this cover on. Take mind of where each one of these go, because this one is shorter than the other 2, and it will be a pain to figure out. Well, not that big of a pain, but you'll have to figure out where they go when you put it back together. This engine rotates counterclockwise. You can tell from this arrow right here, if you can see that. So if you want to rotate it to top dead center, you just rotate it until the cycle ends up, that's not quite right, it'll stop right there. And then on here, on this side, there's a circle right here on the gear, and this notch in the case, and those line up. So when this lines up with this, and this line lines up with this part in the case, that's when you know you're exactly in top dead center. And it'll stop. Like there's kind of a lobe in the cam that it stops right there. So the rest of taking this apart, there's a couple 10mm that hold it to this cover on the front. And then we already took the liberty of taking out these 2 8mm bolts right here that hold this gear on. That way we can get the timing chain off and then pull the head out and then replace the rings on the piston. The next step is taking this part off, and then we'll see if we have to take this part off in order to get to the piston rings. We might have to, but we'll find that out in a minute. Okay, so after you take the bolt out of this, it sits on a little shelf, so you have to get a pick or something and pull that off so it'll come out. And then we have to take the fender off so we can pull this head off all the way, because it was running into the fender. So we'll make sure that's long enough. All right. And yeah, it looks like we're gonna have to take this off because at top dead center, we're not out of the cylinder all the way. So we're gonna have to take the cylinder off, and then we'll be able to get to the rings and replace those. So right here, there's actually a guide inside the cylinder. So you have to take this bolt out, which looks like this. So don't get that mixed up with any of the other ones, or else things are gonna be tough for you. And then this should come off just the rest of the way like that. And then you have your ripped gaskets, of course, which is why we bought a gasket kit. And we'll be real careful about these parts and set them on a paper towel so they don't get ruined. So there's your cylinder. And this isn't a stock 50. This has actually got an 88 kit in it, so this is a bigger bore than the 50cc. So yeah, these are the rings that we're gonna have to replace. Hopefully they're not going to be too terribly difficult, but you have to use little picks like this in order to get them out, if you can see that, just because everything's so small. And then in cars and things, you need a tool to be able to squeeze these rings back together to fit them inside the cylinder. On bikes, it's a lot easier because you can just pinch them as you slide the cylinder over it. But yeah, we'll get all this stuff cleaned up. We'll get the new rings on and then do reassembly, and we'll pick up from there. All right, so I put some rubbers on my hands for protection, but we have a problem with our piston here. It's broken, which might be part of the reason why there was smoke coming out of the crankcase. So we can't finish this project today because I didn't get a new piston. So I'll have to order one online and then get that going. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this, we're going to put this back together with all of the parts, no new gaskets or anything, because I don't want to waste the new ones. And then we'll set it to the side until the new piston shows up and put it back together.